Hello, 5th grade. It is time for our weekly math lesson. So this is for the week of April 27th through May 1st. You can see the slide. We are learning about some science here in with our math this week. So let's get started. We are going to learn, we're going to practice, you already know how to do this, we're going to practice dividing with decimals. So on the first slide, we put some reminders for you about dividing with decimals. Remember, the biggest thing about dividing with decimals is that you just have to rocket that decimal up to the top. After you do that, you just do the division as you know how to do it, and it'll work out. So let's look at and remind ourselves of the steps of long dividing. So remember, our acronym was DMSBR, which was Dad, Mom, Sister, Brother, and the dog Rover. So you've got to divide, then multiply, then subtract, then bring down, and repeat and go back up to the top. So I'll have this here on the slide for you so you can come back to this if you're stuck on what step to do. Like sometimes we get stuck, so you can come back to this chart and find where you're at and get unstuck. Also, we put on here for you 2 of the different supplemental aids that we used. I think everybody used this top one. I'm going to show this on the camera in just a second. You know how to use this to put your multiples in there for whatever number you're dividing by. And then some of you use this one about talking about the neighbor and how to bring the neighbor up. So if you liked to use this, you can use that one as well. Alright, so let's get started. We are going to, actually, you know what? Before we look at the slides, we're going to get started with our supplemental aid. So, I don't know why this is it's not doing a screenshot. Here we go. Okay, so remember, this is how we use the multiples chart so that we can divide quicker in case we're not solid on the number. This time I picked an easy one. It's really just 4, and most of you can divide by 4 without this chart, but maybe since you haven't divided in a long time, or you want a little bit of help, you can use this. So remember how to fill this out. Remember, I put the 4 here because that's the number I'm multiplying by, and then each one of these is 4 times 0, and I put the answer, which is 0. 4 times 1 is 4, and I go all the way down, times 2, times 3, times 4, times 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So we have all of our 4s right there. So it should be easy for us to come back and divide by a 4 because we're going to see these numbers and be able to find them easily. So you can use, we put that one on the first slide for you, so if you need to write it on your own paper, sorry I don't have any worksheets there for you to be able to do it on, but you know how to use this. I just wanted to remind you. A lot of times we didn't always just use this for 4s, but sometimes we used it if we had to do, like, maybe it was dividing by 15, and so we would have to go through here and you keep adding 15 to the number, right, all the way down. So that would make our bigger division problems a little bit easier. Alright, so I wanted to remind you how to do that, and then using that, let's do a practice division problem. So I made up one here with, well, it keeps buzzing out on us. Okay, so I made up a problem, 4 and 24/100 divided by 4. So I just chose the 4 that we had here. So let's go through the steps. Remember, I'm going to write them here for myself like we always did in class. Here's my steps. Okay, so I got to divide first. 4 into 4. What's 4 divided by 4? So if you're confused, like, is that 16? Is that what's 4 divided by 4? No, you got to find the 4 here. All right, so the answer on top, the number here on top is 1, so the 1's going to go on top here. So 4 times 1 is 4. The number on bottom here goes that number on bottom here. You guys remember all that. Next step is subtract. That's a 0. Oh, What are we supposed to do with that decimal? You put it up on the top, okay, but you got to keep going like the decimals. It doesn't change how you're working down here. The decimal doesn't affect these numbers. So we've got a 0. We know we just subtracted, so now we got to bring down the 2. Alright, so we look at and we say, how much is 2 divided by 4? Well, we need to look here for a 2. We don't have a 2 right here. It's too small. So how many times will 4 go into 2? It'll go in 0 times. Is it okay to put a 0 right there in a division problem? Yes, it's very okay. Sometimes you have to because it won't go. So 0 times 4 is 0. We subtract. 2 minus 0 is 2. Now we bring down the 4. Now we have 24 divided by 4. So we're dividing again. So we look for 24 on here. Here's our 24. How many times will 4 go into 24? 6 times. So we put a 6 there. 6. Now we have to multiply. 6 times 4 is 24. Subtract. We're down at 0. We're no more digits. We're done. So there's our final answer. 1 600ths. Okay? So that was just a simple, quick reminder of how to divide and how to divide with decimals there. So let's go back to our slide and let's look at this first slide. Alright, so it's got that lovely picture there of a scorpion. And the instructions, the title is Structure and Function Matching. So there's some words here, some functions and things about the structure of the scorpion that's you're gonna match up, but it has a math problem with it. It says, drag the expression to the correct quotient. Be sure to show your work on the following slide. Okay, let's look at the next slide. It's blank. Remember, you know how to do this. Insert a picture of your scratch paper for the scorpion problems. I want you to notice this sentence. Without work, you will receive an incomplete. If you do not show us a picture of your work here, or if you want to take the mouse and you want to do the math here, you want to draw it here, that's fine. You're going to have a lot to do. You're not going to have that much space. So it's probably better to do it on paper. Take a picture, insert your picture right here. We want to see the work, so make sure you do that. Alright, so then we're going to come here, and I would just start right here with this one. 51 divided by 5. So I'm not going to do that for you, but right here I would write the problem. 51, oops, I'm not using my camera, let me help you. There we go. 51 divided by 5. Okay, well there's no decimal there, but what's going to happen? Can you tell that this is not, can you look at that and see that it's not going to be even? Because 51 is not a multiple of 5. It's not, we're going to end up with something left over. So if we count by 5s, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, we know 5 times 10 is 50, right? So we're going to have an issue right here. But what do we do with remainders now that we have decimals? So let's do, well, I'm going to help you with this one. I'm going to do this one with you. Ready? So 5 goes into 5 one time. 1 times 5 is 5. It would be 0. I bring down my 1. Okay. 5 goes into 1. It doesn't go into 1. 0 times. 0 times 5 is 0. Subtract. We still have 1. What do? We used to be able to just put R1 because we had remainder. That's what we did with the remainder. But now you know how to deal with the remainder. We're dealing with decimals on this page, so we have to add a decimal and a 0. We're not adding a value to this. It's adding the place value spot so that we can get an accurate number. So now we have another 0 to bring down. And will 10 be divided by 5? Can 10 be divided by 5? Yes, 2 times. So we need to put that decimal up here and put our 2. 2 times 5 is 10. So now we're down to 0. Okay, so we got that problem all the way down. Now, 10 and 2/10, let's see if that is on the slide. 10 and 2/10, look, the stinger. And maybe you already know that the insect, it says injects venom into the prey. You already knew that was a stinger. But when you are on your own copy of this slide, then you are just going to move it right there to show that you know that the answer to that was 10.2. Maybe you can put it, I don't know, move it around so we can see it. But make sure we know that you put it in the right spot. Okay, so you only have 3 more on that page. I did the first one for you, so you just have to do the other 3. Make sure you take a picture of your work and put it on that slide, and then the last slide has a few more, but I'm going to do a couple with you. So let's look at this. It says structure and function sort. Drag and drop the quotients to match the equations. When complete, you should have matching structures and functions of the fennec fox. Okay, so these boxes can be highlighted, and you just drag and click them or drag and drop them. So if you thought that was the right answer, you would put it right there. So when you're done, this is going to be empty, and this is going to be all yellow over here because you're going to put them all there. But you need to notice that this column needs to be a structure, and this column needs to be a function. So long sand-colored hair is probably not a function, I would think. But, you know, you can think through all that. So put it back over here, and let's talk about, let's do number 1, the 11.7. So let's go back to our paper, and let's do, I didn't read that number 11. What was that? 11, I can't even remember. 11.7 divided by 3. All right, so 11.7 divided by 3. Okay. If you wanted to use this chart right here, you could certainly write your 3's right here to help you. Write it all the way down. That would help. And then do your dividing right here. 3 goes into 1. No. 3 goes into 11. You can't go over, so it can't be 4. It has to be 3. 3 times 3 is 9. Okay, and you keep going. Put your decimal here, and you keep going. If you come down and you have a number and there's no more numbers to bring down and it can't go even, remember, you can keep adding zeros. You're not going to have to do that very often here, but you might have to do a little bit. So make sure you come up with a finished number. You get it all the way down to the bottom. Okay, so I'm not going to finish that for you. I want you to finish that. And you come back, find your answer over here. We already know it's 3 point something, so I'm looking, there's a 3 point right there, and there's a 3 point right here. So it's going to be one of those. And you would pick that, drag it over here, drop it in the box. Okay, make sure you do every one of these. And let's look at the divisors that we're having to use. 3, we know our 3's. 4, we just made a 4 chart a minute ago. We know our 5's for sure. 12's, most of you know your 12's, but this is a big number, so if you want to use that chart to write out your 12, so you can divide by that quickly. That's good. You know your 2's. Here's another 4, another 4. This one doesn't even have a decimal. Not yet. 14. You might want to write those out because that's a little bit bigger number. 20. Remember we talked about when we have multiples of 2 and 10, it's easy. We can think about this as 2. We can count by 20s as easy as we can count by 2's. And then there's a 3 again, so you already had 3's written out. So work through these problems. If you have any questions, your teachers, all of us math teachers are having Google Hangout time, so bring your questions to the Hangout time and we will try to answer them for you. Good luck and have a great week.